Hong Kong erupts in protest, again. And police arrest people, again, even as the deadly coronavirus spreads. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Hong Kong, remember them? It's been 9 very long months since the protests began there. They started after the Hong Kong government tried to pass a law that would let them extradite criminal suspects to mainland China, where they'd be treated to China's legal system, which looks like this. For some reason, Hong Kongers didn't want that. After months of stalling, the Hong Kong government eventually scrapped the extradition bill. But that didn't stop the protests, which by then had evolved into anti-Chinese Communist Party protests. Chi-Nazi, I think it's pretty clear how the people feel. So for almost 9 months, there have been protests in Hong Kong virtually every week, sometimes even more often. And the typical reaction of the Hong Kong police has looked like this. So really, why bother extraditing people to mainland China when Hong Kong police can bring mainland China to the people? Now there's a deadly coronavirus spreading in China, and it's also affected Hong Kong. Back in 2003, Hong Kong went through the worst SARS outbreak outside of mainland China. So people are understandably concerned about the coronavirus. But if the Chinese regime was hoping the coronavirus would make Hong Kongers too scared to protest, they've been sorely disappointed. We haven't seen large-scale rallies in a while, but the coronavirus is also inspiring new protests in Hong Kong. These are often strikes or smaller spontaneous protests. Authorities aim to arrest their way out, because arresting people is apparently the solution to all of life's problems, except student loan debt. If only. It's also clearly the solution to dealing with pesky local media moguls who refuse to censor themselves, like Jimmy Lai. He's the founder of Appledaily, a Hong Kong newspaper that has been explicitly supporting the protests. Hong Kong police arrested Jimmy Lai on Friday for participating in an illegal assembly back on August 31st. Also arrested were 2 former pro-democracy legislators, Young Sum and Lee Chok-yan. It was a smart move by Hong Kong police. Arresting senior citizens, including a multimillionaire, is a great way to remind Hong Kongers from all walks of life that they have a reason to hate the government. It really brings people together. Jimmy Lai has been released, but he'll have to appear in court on May 5th. If he's convicted of participating in an illegal assembly, he could face big fines and up to 5 years in prison. More than 7,000 people have been arrested since the Hong Kong protests began last June, and a lot of them have been charged with rioting, a more serious charge that carries up to 10 years in prison. But somehow, arresting people doesn't actually deter other people from protesting. This past Saturday, Hong Kongers came out to protest again. They were commemorating the 6-month anniversary of that time when Hong Kong police actually boarded the subway to beat people up. Following tradition, Hong Kong police came to provide the solution: tear gas and arresting more people. It's hard to believe protests like this have been going on for so long. Then again, time really flies when you're repressing people. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And now it's time for me to answer a question from one of our supporters who contributes to China Uncensored through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Shane asks, "Hi Chris, why is it that the former colony of Hong Kong has such a vibrant culture of democratic values that they're willing to fight tooth and nail for, while the former colony of Macau seems to have just rolled over and accepted their authoritarian fate?" Good question, Shane. There are potentially many reasons why this is the case, but one reason is the economy. Hong Kong's economic future depends on having rule of law. Institutions like banks, financial firms, and many others have set up their operations in Hong Kong. They depend on liberty and rule of law, because if clients renege on agreements or if there are lawsuits, etc., these companies can rely on a fair court system without interference from powerful Communist Party officials, at least in theory. So Hong Kong's economy requires liberty. Who wouldn't fight tooth and nail for that? But Macau's economy depends on powerful Communist Party officials. Macau technically has the same one country, two systems policy as Hong Kong, but Macau is China's hub for gambling and money laundering. Macau's economy has grown by sevenfold since Portugal returned it to China 20 years ago, and that economy is built around gambling. Rich Chinese people use these casinos to change their Chinese currency into US dollars or euros, so they can move their ill-gotten money out of China. And most of Macau's residents are in some way connected to the gambling industry, working in casinos, hotels, restaurants, or related services. So, if Macau loses the support of China's communist officials, there would be massive, massive unemployment. The locals do not want that. Also, in 2009, the Macau government passed a draconian anti-subversion law which allows police to easily go after dissidents. So, that's a big deterrent to protesting as well. So in Macau, it's much easier to just roll over and accept your authoritarian fate. If you want to learn more, check out the interview I did a few years ago with Macanese pro-democracy activist Scott Chiang. Thanks for your question, Shane. And thank you to all of you for watching. Please be like Shane and support China Uncensored by contributing $1 or more per episode on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Go to patreon.com/China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.